brothers and sisters. Jazakallah khair for everyone coming. So let's begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. We start with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to send our peace and blessings to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So yesterday, alhamdulillah, we covered a lot of ground, and some of it we kind of rushed in a little bit just because we apologize for yesterday being a few minutes late. So today we're going to have more time to go through things that may have been missed, or maybe we'll have more attention to detail, inshallah. That's the goal today. So, so what did we cover yesterday? So some of the things we covered yesterday was why we should attend dawah training, what is dawah, right? So can anybody tell us what is dawah from what we learned yesterday? Just one person. What is dawah based on what we learned yesterday? Yeah? Yes, to convey, not to convince, to invite. Okay, alhamdulillah. And then who's responsible for giving dawah? Who? All the Muslims, but so we talked about fard ain and we talked about fard kifaya, right? So fard kifaya is if there's a group of them are doing the job, then the hujjah is lifted. But every Muslim at some part should be part of the dawah. Okay, good. And then we talked about why we should give dawah. What was one of the main reasons we should give dawah for? From yesterday's class. Yes, sister. It was commanded, yes, we talked about, but what is the reason we do it? Yes, to take Allah's pleasure, so please Allah. Okay, excellent. And then we talked about the fiqh of dawah. The fiqh of dawah was the caller. The sheikh delivered that. So the call, the caller, and the called. So what was the call? What is the call? La ilaha illallah, tawheed. Excellent. And means calling to Allah. And one of the things we said yesterday, if in the 2 days from yesterday and today, if you forget every single thing, wallahi, if you forget every single thing, everything you forget about this whole course, the 2 days were complete, just mind numb. Remember, in your dawah, where will the success will be? You keep going back to tawheed. Keep going back to whether it's a Christian, whether it's an atheist, whether it's a Buddhist, whether it's a believer, whatever, even if it's a Muslim, you keep going back to tawheed. Okay? So I said, if you forget every single thing about this course in the 2 days, please don't forget that. That's very important. Okay, so that was the call. And then we talked about caller. What are some of the things that caller should have? Patience, mashallah. What else? Empathy, yes. Alhamdulillah. What else? Wisdom, mashallah, good. What else should a caller have? Yes. Sabr, patience, yeah. Sincerity, mashallah, excellent, excellent. Okay. So then we talked about the called, the people. So we said the caller, the call, the caller, and the called. So who are we calling? Who are we calling? Are we calling animals, robots, buildings? Yeah. Well, from our perspective, it's non-Muslims, but yes, you can call Muslims as well. Remember one of the brothers just said to me yesterday, can we have a little bit more Arabic? Because I'm not that good in English, I speak French. I don't remember which brother was it. I don't know if he's here today. But one of the things I reminded him that the whole goal for this dawah is that you can articulate this in English. That's the whole goal, because you're speaking to the people, so it's more, I guess, Eurocentric. So you can articulate the message of Islam to the people that are non-Arabs and non-Indo-Pak and non-Egyptians and so on, and non-Africans and so on and so forth. I know Sheikh loves when I say Egyptians. So then we talk, so who are we calling? Who are we calling? Human beings. We're calling human beings. Muslims and non-Muslims are human beings, right? So what did we say about human beings? What are they? They're not robots. You guys remember that? So what do human beings have? Feelings, yes. What else? They have what? Dreams? No. They have a fitra, yes, but what's a human component? Yes. They have aql, they have a what? Qalb, they have a heart. And what else? They have ruh, and they have a nafs. So a human being is composed of so many things. The reason why we need to know this is very important, because sometimes we use human beings like robots. We think they're like it's input and output. If I give him a airtight dalil or evidence, he's going to become Muslim. The reality of the matter is people are people. Like I remember one time I was in Toronto, and the brother said to me, the reason I will not accept religion because I'm part of the LGBT community, and all religions go against this. Okay, and I said, does that mean there's no God? There's still a creator, whether you like the creator or not, whether you like his rules or not. That's a secondary point. So the point is, the dawah is for everyone, okay? And we're calling human beings, and human beings have other things that are going on with them. Okay, good. The next we covered is, why does the dawah fall? Why does the dawah fall? What are some of the reasons we talked about? Who can remind us? Endless cycling of questions. Excellent. Yeah, they have doubts. Yeah, they have shubahats. Yes. Yeah, forgetting the main concept of Tawheed. If you forget everything, remember Tawheed. Because if you keep going to these branch discussions, right, and it'll just keep jumping from branch to branch, leaf to leaf. And then we would go back to foundation. So what was foundation? It's calling to Allah, calling to Tawheed. And then from there, building to why Prophet is the Prophet, which we'll discuss today, why the Quran is from Allah. And Brother Hamid, if you can get me that whiteboard again, I would appreciate it. I don't know what happened to it. And some markers. Okay, so alhamdulillah, so we did why the downfall for the dawah. And then we discussed the go-rap approach. What was the go-rap approach? God's existence, oneness, revelation, and prophethood. So do we have to give dawah in this order? No. It's one of the ways. Like I said yesterday, there's a brother in Washington, D.C. His dawah starts with 3 questions of the grave. That's his dawah. And he gets lots of shahada. So we're not saying IRA is the only way and this is the only way to do it. But it's one of the good and most effective ways we find around the globe, calling people to worship Allah by going to God, oneness, revelation, and prophethood. Excellent. Okay. So we talked about why the dawah falls. We talked about what the go-rap approach is. And then we talked about initiation and prime. So if you could just put it there for now, just in the back wall. I'll get it whenever I need it, inshallah. So then we talked about the go-rap approach, and then we talked about initiation. So what types of dawah do we have? Who can tell us? Do you remember we talked about, there was a couple of types of dawah? Passive and active, alhamdulillah. Okay, good. So there was a passive dawah and an active dawah, excellent. And then we said that in order to engage in the dawah, we should have some kind of premises, and we talked about, you know, how we're learning one step at a time. It's like having a tool set. So today we'll be discussing those tools. Today will be what we're discussing, but in that tool set, different things will come out with different people. We'll inshallah try to learn those different tool sets for today. But one of the things we said was that as we move forward, you'll be learning tools, but obviously always thanking the people. Whenever you're in dawah engagement, say, you know, obviously he has to be someone who's respectful, someone who's willing to listen, who wants to engage. Say, thank you very much for asking this question. That's a very good question. In order for you to understand this concept or I have to explain some foundations of Islam. Do you have a few minutes? Okay, this is very, very important to have that adab, that Islamic virtues in there. As the Prophet ﷺ said, if you don't thank the people, you haven't thanked Allah. So we always say in Arabic, Jazakallah khair. We're pulling those those principles and premises in the dawah, saying, thank you very much. That was a very good question. In order for you to understand this, I have to explain some foundations of Islam. Do you have a few minutes? And then we talked about understanding the person's condition, because we talked about if the person comes to you and says, Muslims kill babies, do we thank the person? So what do? We negate it first. Why? Yeah, because you're thanking, that means you're accepting that Muslims do kill babies, or Muslims teach violence, right? And yesterday we talked that Islam, everything in Islam is good. All of Islam is khair. That's what all of Islam is good. What Allah and His Messenger has given us, everything is good, even if we don't understand it, right? I want to share something from you. I was listening to Sheikh Fadl Suleiman, and he said something, I had never thought about this, yeah? He said there is an absolutely straight, what's the opposite of LGBT? Heterosexual. There's a heterosexual Muslim brother. He is very offended by Islam because in some of the countries, Muslims are against LGBT, and he found that to be very problematic. And he was asking questions about Islam. And he was on the verge of leaving Islam. Can anybody tell us why would a heterosexual person find that to be problematic and have issues, shubahats about Islam? Excellent. He says, so it's like a German being upset at what happened in the 1930s and the 40s. He's self-blaming. But what's the hidden premise? It's bad. He believes that's bad. But what is the next premise now? Because he feels that human beings, we can decide what's right and wrong. And Allah is not just. He's making laws that are confining to His understanding of what's right or wrong. So what I'm trying to show from this example, that it was really an eye-opener for me, that it's not that it's right or wrong. The point is that his anchor, some us Muslims, we walk around thinking that, yeah, we're Muslim, we pray 5 times a day, we believe in God, but we believe that we know what's right and wrong. Yes, there are some things we know what's right and wrong. As the Prophet ﷺ said, I did not come to give morality. I came to perfect morality. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran to the Quraysh, when the wahi had come down completely, and Allah is telling him, you know what's right and wrong. Killing innocent children is wrong. Treating the poor people is wrong. So the wahi, all of wahi didn't come down. But Allah is reminding human beings that it's in your fitrah, it's in your innate disposition to know what's right and wrong. And the Prophet ﷺ has come to give morality. Means if there's anything deficient, you fix that. So what am I saying? I'm not saying human beings don't know what's right or wrong. They do. But it still goes back to Allah. And the brother, when he was thinking it's wrong, is from his own akal, which your akal could be wrong. That's all I'm trying to make that point. Anyway, moving forward. So these are some of the things we covered. Then we talked about common sense, why it's important. Why I'm just quickly going through these recaps for people to know that there is a Q&A tonight, okay? In order for you to get the certificate, you need to pass the Q&A, and these questions will be coming in there. You'll be getting that link, inshallah. Okay? All right. So, any questions before I begin? Any questions from the brothers and sisters? Okay, alhamdulillah. So let's begin. So today we'll be discussing, then we talked about God, obviously, how to explain there's a creator. And then we said that that creator, all we're trying to get them to understand, that the creator, some thing begins everything. Everything that begins to exist must have a cause. The universe must have began, so it must have had a cause. That's all we wanted them in that yesterday's topic. We wanted them to know, sorry. So that's all we covered yesterday. And we talked about some simple arguments like the design argument. We talked about, talking about habitable zone, the Big Bang Theory, how to kind of deal with that, okay? And then asking them, does that make sense? And then move forward from there. Okay, so the opening would be, do you believe in God? No, I don't. Okay, if this phone, can this phone come from nothing? Can this phone create itself? If the phone must have had a creator or designer, so surely the universe must have had a creator and designer. And if they negate that and they get into these useless arguments, then what did we say to do? But we are in Tawheed. Yeah, maybe it's time to stop that conversation and flip the conversation to something completely different. Maybe how about I have a coffee? Maybe let's go have pizza. Maybe, you know what, let's just agree to disagree. Let's talk about something. How's your family? How, what'd you go to school? What do you do for a living? Completely change the narrative. Why? Because it's becoming emotional and heated. And remember, what did we say about yesterday about dawah? Is not to get to jaddal, right? If we're going to get into discussions and arguments, it has to be done with beautiful way, right? Okay? So, here's some of the things I want to share about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? I want to share this with you that just so you guys are aware. Naturally, every human being believes God is one. Okay? What do I mean by God is one? No one would intuitively, rationally would come to his akal, there's multiple gods. Okay? No person that's rational, that's thinking would come to this conclusion. However, people are thought, like they're given an explanation that there's multiple gods or there's multiple. So those people would usually bring this kind of argument, right? And sometimes, people think they're very rational, they're very logical. So those are the kind of people that you might have this discussion. But generally, you will not have an argument or discussion about oneness. We don't usually dive into it very deep, okay? But if there's a need, we can discuss those matters, inshallah. Okay? So let's begin. What do you guys think? How would we explain from the Quran and the Sunnah, and intuitively and rationally, we can explain God is one? How we do that? Remember what we said about question marks? Every time a question mark comes up, we ask. Yes? Let me just get you this mic here, brother. Bismillah.
I think in Surah Al-Isra, there's a verse that talks about if there were competitors against Allah, they would compete for the throne of Allah, something like that. I'm not sure
compete,
if I'm like.
Yeah.
So it's like just the idea of if there is more than one deity, they would compete, and also I think I've heard like just if there is any sort of want for the same thing, then two gods can't get that thing for themselves, then neither of them are gods, because the concept of God is like it has to have complete control over everything, right? So in essence, it's like you can't have more than one God if only one God can have control over all things.
Okay, so here's a question, yeah? Just before we begin this go into a bit deeper here. Whenever I do dawah, in the beginning, I keep it very simple. And this should be a premise for every part, whether it's Quran, whether it's for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it's oneness, whether it's about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so like I'll give you an example, and I've learned this from like Sheikh Uthman, mashallah, very great da'i and a sheikh. And he's, there's a video online, I love using it. It's a dawah under 1 minute, or maybe 30 seconds, I can't remember what it was. So he just goes like this. We believe there's a creator. We believe he's one. He deserves to be worshipped. He sent us guidance. We believe the Quran is from Allah. We believe the Prophet is a prophet of God. He sent us guidance through many messengers in the past. Ibrahim, Ishmael, Isaac, Noah, so on, so on. And then that's his dawah. Now you'd be like, that's not really dawah, man. That's just stuff. So what I'm trying to show from this small example from Sheikh Uthman, the dawah should be like that. It should be very simple. However, when you're discussing, when you're getting into these deep philosophical of splitting hairs and trying to go into depth, sometimes it's not about the depth. Maybe there's something else happening. So in the beginning, you keep it simple. We believe there's a creator, for example. Well, the guy negates that there's a creator. Now you're going deeper. It's like, I always give this example. It's like going to the dentist, right? First he checks you out, and then he says, okay, you have some cavities. Then he's like, okay, but maybe I can drill some, fix your teeth. Then he starts fixing your teeth. He says, no, you know what? I think there's a root, you have root issues. So now you have to do root canal. So it's what I'm saying is you go deeper based on what's needed. But the premise in the beginning, simple. We believe there's a creator. We believe he's one. We believe he deserves to be worshipped. We believe he sent us guidance. We believe the Prophet is a prophet of God. We believe Quran is from Allah. That's your dawah. That's it. Where he has an issue, now you can address. So do you believe? No, I don't believe. Okay, what is it that you don't believe? You get what I'm saying? So when we go into oneness, we're going to go a bit deeper, but we're going to start with that. That's the point. Sorry, you had your hands up, brother. Okay. So do you guys understand that succession? Did that make sense? That we go in levels. We don't go straight into depth. Go ahead.
Like the argument that I usually give is like the analogy of the hierarchy and how there's always like a chain of command.
Excellent.
So when you look at everything in society, when it comes to governments,
Excellent.
companies, family structures, there's always has to be one person at the top making a decision. So the God's argument that I try to give to people with religions with multiple gods is who makes the key decision, who gets the final word when it comes to disputes, because human beings in general, we're never going to agree on anything. So rationally speaking, gods are going to be the same way.
Excellent, excellent. See, these are like rational, common sense, intuitive. Like you can give the guy, look, in a school, there's a principal, right? In a country, there's a president or a king. It's very rational. In a house, there should be a leader that should lead. Not that'll be the chaos. There's chaos if there isn't, right? So you give them these examples. What else can we give them? What are just simple stuff you can give?
Isn't it simpler to start with the definition of God and agree on it?
You can.
And then go to all of these questions because they
Yeah,
will be
we
very
will.
easy to answer them if you agree on the definition of God.
Yeah, but when we define, so would we say, okay, so let's have a real example. So explain to us, maybe we can benefit from you and learn for others. So come on up here.
No, I'm learning from you.
No, we all
It's
learn
okay.
from you. Wallahi, I go to many classes. I learn from people more than I have my own knowledge. This course, by the way, I don't know if I explained this to you. This course was not put together by me. There are thousands and thousands of du'ats that have come together with many mashayikhs that have been over the years working and producing this. So this is not a one-man show. Okay, so yeah, let's come on up. Let's try it. Bismillah. And we can benefit from that. No. Yeah, go ahead.
So for the definition thing that the brother mentioned, like we can say God has to be all-knowing, and if there are multiple gods,
excellent.
Like that limits the knowledge. Like somebody is knowledgeable in this and somebody is
excellent.
knowledgeable in that.
Yeah, I was going to go there. I wanted to play it out. Anybody else that want to add then? We'll do the role play a little later. Okay, good. Anything else you guys want to add? How to explain God is one? Anybody like to add? The sisters? Yes, brother. If you either take the mic or you speak louder, whichever one you like. You gotta put your nail underneath the button and push it up. That's what I noticed.
Yeah, so I was just saying we can prove that by saying that the world is based on one system. So like everything in the world is organized around one system. So one human, one heart, two eyes. So all humanity is based on the same looks. Animals are on the same looks.
Excellent.
So I mean, if there were like multiple gods, they would have maybe fought on the throne or something like that.
SubhanAllah. Excellent. There's a brother in the back. He has his hand. You want to grab that mic, brother, if you want to add?
So there's also, you can just logic it out. So let's say there's a room and God A wants it to be green, God B wants it to be yellow.
Yes.
What you can do is just observe the room, and whichever color it is tells you which God won, and the God that lost cannot be God.
Excellent.
And if it's multiple colors, then neither of them won because both had to submit to each other.
Excellent. 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 You guys understand that logic? So you can't have two all-powerful gods. It has to be one powerful God. If there's two powerful gods, they will be conflict with one another. Either one will then becomes the God, or the other one will, the other one that will submit. Or if they're both powerful, then nothing will take place. That's the argument. You guys understand? If there's two all-powerful, they're fighting about something, and they say, okay, the rain is going to go this way, and the other one says, no, the rain goes this way. They'll fight one another. There'll be no rain at all. So either it can have all one powerful God, or the other one will be nothing happening at all, right? So these kind of the logical argument he's coming with. Yes?
There's also the idea that it's actually the default assumption that there's only one God. Whoever challenges that idea has to bring their own evidence.
Yes.
Because it's just the simplest explanation. Why have two gods if to do the job of one?
Excellent, Dai, mashallah. Excellent, bro. May Allah bless you. So what he's saying is, it's called the Occam's razor argument. Basically means you can postulate unnecessary things that are needed. So the simplest explanation is the best explanation. Like, give you an example. Imagine there is a pyramid. How many people do we need to build a pyramid? 1,000? How about I say 10,000? Can that be doable? Could be. How about I say 100,000? How about I say 1 million? How about I say 5 billion? Why is now it's not possible? But what's the problem? What's the hidden premise? Yeah, because now you have to explain other things. Where do these 1 billion people live? Where do they eat? Where are their remains? You're making an unnecessary, something that's a very simple concept, you're making it more complicated. Okay? So the simplest argument is the best answer for this. Okay? So, excellent. These are all beautiful points. Yes? Anybody? No? Okay, so, mashallah, these are all good answers. So to explain, like the brother said, to explain first is exactly right. So that's where we're going to begin too. So to start with, this is what we say, right? Because we need to understand from Islamic principles, right? Why do people have a misunderstanding of God in the world? Can anybody tell us? Yes, brother. Yeah, it could be Christianity, but maybe in India, maybe Christianity wasn't that prevalent. Yes. Excellent. What's your name, brother? Omar? Excellent. Because they can't see God, so they have to come up with their own ideas of God is. Because people are visual, they only believe what they see or they think they can see. So in Islam, we want to give them the right understanding of God is. That's why when I say to people, I've been studying Tawheed for 3 years, they're like, what? You've been studying Tawheed for 3 years. What are you learning? Do you know what I'm saying? You could have done Sharia and you could have wanted to, so on and so forth, right? Because the idea of understanding the oneness of Allah is so rich and so deep in Islam. So what I'm trying to explain is, let's start with a very simple idea. The creator does not become the creation. Where do we draw this principle in Islam from? Who can tell us? Which ayah? Laysa kamithlihi shay. There's nothing like Allah. The creator does not become creation, right? Yes? Everybody makes sense? So, in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-awwal, al-akhir. Allah is, the most hidden, al-batin, right? Ad-dahir, the most observable based on creation. So when we look at the holistic understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is al-ghani, like we talked about. Allah is as-samad. We talked about yesterday, right? He's self-sufficient. He's not in need of anything. So we want to introduce the right concept of Allah or God in Islam. And many, many people have become Muslim. Even atheists have become Muslim by listening to Surah Ikhlas, the tafsir or explanation or understanding of Surah Ikhlas. Why? So yes, brother? Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Excellent. Can somebody give him a mic? It's excellent points, wallahi. Those are gems he's dropping. Yeah. And many people say people become Muslim. One of the reasons why Islam spreads so fast and so amazingly, because believing in God is so simple in Islam. Even a 3-year-old can understand. Like you don't have to jump through hoops. One of the discussions, and you can write down this point. One of the discussions, when someone says, like I always bring this up in my dawah, right? I'll say, okay, well, you have Buddhism, you have Hinduism, you have Islam, you have Christianity, you have materialism, you have feminism, you have Scientology, you have all of these isms out there. Now, how do I know which ism is correct? So here's a three-pronged approach principle that you can apply, okay? Whatever worldview that we're gonna say that this is a correct worldview must have a first cause, a creator, number one. That first cause, that creator should be simple and intuitive for anyone to understand, number one. Number two, this must have some kind of something, like for example, the message of this being must be given to us to understand what this being is, what does he want. This message should be consistent internally and externally. You guys want to write this down? So the second premise is the message should be consistent internally and externally. What does that mean by internally? If it says the heavens are held up by pillars, like the sky is held up by pillars, obviously it's inconsistent externally, and page 1 should not contradict page 16. So it's inconsistent internally and inconsistent externally, number 2. Number 3, the concept of this creator has to be something that he's given us from the transcending. Mean, if I say that this clicker was made by God, and then someone else can make a similar clicker, then this clicker is not from God. Has nothing transcending about it. Okay? Again, these are, some of them may not know the words, but so concept of they should be a first cause. Number 2, the message should be internally and externally consistent. Number 3, it should have signposts to the transcending. Okay, so when we're talking about Islam, we're saying the creator does not become creation, number 1. Okay, so as you know, the universe.
I don't know how to usually counter that.
So we were here yesterday. One of the sisters asked this question. So what did we say? Let's go back to Qul huwallahu ahad. And what did we say yesterday?
There is only one God.
Is it one?
And he's like the only one.
So what is one in Arabic?
Wahda.
Wahid. But Allah doesn't say Qul huwallahu wahid.
He said ahad.
Yeah, so what is ahad?
Like there's one and nothing like it.
That he's uniquely one. So when we say everything that begins to exist must have a cause, Allah did not begin to exist because that's one unique agent, is not like his creation. That's why he's laysa kamithlihi shay. There's nothing like Allah. The creator does not become creation, right? But we're saying Allah is not part of the creation in that way. Allah is power over everything. Allah is all knowing. Allah is all wise. But he's not part of the creation in that way. Okay? Na'uz billah. God doesn't become creation. Like it doesn't become, like one of the things in Hinduism, God is one, by the way. I don't know if many of you may not know this. We might think that they're pantheists and they believe in multiple gods. Actually, if you study the theology in some depth, you'll find out that they believe God is one, and this God comes down to earth in different forms, in different shapes, in different times. So sometimes he comes back as a human, sometimes he comes back as a cat, sometimes a tree, sometimes different things. So they do believe in one God. They just think that this God comes down in different times and different forms. And again, they have ikhtilaf among themselves as well. So I don't want you to now go quote this and say, hey, I heard Brother Ali said they believe in one God, and all of the Hinduism is on this one manhaj. There's a really great book that I'm reading about Hinduism, and this woman moved into India and she was writing about it, and she said that there is not 2 Hindus that agree upon their own theology. So when a woman comes into a marriage with a husband and she walks in their house, she actually brings a new Hinduism religion, because they all contradict, or they have all different ideas, but they say we accept everything. That's why they believe in perennialism. They believe everything, right? Whatever you believe, you're good. Whatever I believe, we're good. We're all good. Unlike in Islam, we have one understanding of the deen when it comes to Aqidah matters, right? We're not talking about fiqh. So what we're saying is, going back to the oneness, so the creator doesn't become creation. Did the universe create itself? No, the universe must have had a cause. We discussed that. So now we're explaining who God is. So we're saying, who created God? That's one of the questions just coming up. So we're saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not created. He's one unique agent that is uncreated. He has no beginning, no end. Allah has always been there. He was there before the creation, and even if the creation were to not exist, He'll always be there, right? So when we say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, right? So when He's the king of Maliki Yawmiddin, when He's the king of that day, the judgment day, that day there will be nothing, as Allah says. It'll be only Allah, and obviously He'll recreate everything. So what we're saying is, so that's why we believe that Allah is not created. Allah is uniquely one. So when we talked about explaining, sometimes in my da'wah I just explain Qul huwallahu ahad. I want to just add another caveat here. The caveat I want to add, sometimes it's really good to give an ayah in Arabic. Why? Why is it important? Yes. Of course, that's the profound reason, which we'll talk about later. But to a guy who doesn't speak Arabic, why is it important for him to hear Arabic? Yes, brother in the back. Sorry, there's a microphone there.
Okay. If you give the other non-Muslim what you want, like the verse in Arabic, he would know that it's real and it's original. If you just tell him in English with the summary, he might think that you're inventing it maybe or something.
Good point, mashallah, very good point. Do you want to add to that, brother? Go ahead. Can you take that mic because other people can hear?
There is a difference between the English and Arabic translations, actually, and also another factor. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam hada actually made someone Muslim just by reading the Quran.
Excellent.
So there is that factor in the Arabian recitation of Quran that is not in any other language.
Excellent. Here's another reason, and that's another good point. Do you want to add to that, brother? There's another brother who wants to add.
So the reason we do that is to provide evidence, to like always go back to the Quran, to show them that we always go back to the Quran.
Excellent. 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 Do you want to add to that? Oh, there'll be more than one meaning. Be careful with your words. It's not that they have one different meanings, that those meanings have, they would complement one another, just so you know. Yes, brother.
For me, if someone else talks to me in Chinese or a language that I don't understand, then I'll be waiting what that means.
Exactly. That's the point. All these questions are very good, mashallah, very good. But here's the point. Here's the point I want you to take home. You give da'wah to someone and you say, we believe in God. The creator doesn't become his creation. God doesn't become human, blah, 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 blah. And you leave him. What do you think he will do? He will go home and he will start searching about God. So what will he find? You know what? I'm born Christian. Let me go back to the church. Do you guys understand? So sometimes we live in this vacuum, right? Obviously, the da'wah should always be linked to our tradition. And our tradition, which we'll talk about today, is in the Arabic language. That's what is preserved. So when you give them the Arabic, obviously you explain in English afterwards, for sure. It's not you just give them the Arabic and you leave him. He doesn't understand what you're saying. So what I do is, when I explain Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid, wa lam yulad, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad, I break it down and I explain to him one ayah at a time. Why? Because at some point when I'm not with him and maybe I only have 3 minutes with him or maybe 2 minutes, if I can just get that across to him in that 2-3 minutes of dawah, now he says, that guy, whatever that guy, that bald-headed, chubby guy, he was saying some language that sounded like Arabic, and he was saying he was a Muslim. So now he has a reference to go back to. So when he starts searching, he doesn't, because they get lost, right? They be studying Buddhism, Hinduism, Scientology, materialism, and there's like 50,000 different Christianity denominations. He'll be lost. So at least you give him somewhat of a roadmap how to come back. Yeah, that's one of the profound reasons, as well as all these other reasons as well you guys pointed out. Okay, good. So So that makes sense to you, brother, about why we believe that the creator is uncreated. Okay? You guys understand? You were asking, right? Yeah, so what did we say? How would we explain it? Okay, so here's a question. Everything that begins to exist must have a cause. The bottle has a cause, the laptop has a cause, the table, the trees, everything has a cause. Well, who caused God? So how do we explain that? Because the whole idea is for you to learn, right? Where's the mic, brother? I think just, who wants to go? Who didn't speak before? I love you smoke? Okay, it's okay, give it to the brother in a minute. Yes, go ahead, brother.
Okay, so I just want to comment on that question because I think it's two questions in one.
Okay.
Because I think the first question is God created? And if I say yes, then you ask me who created God. But if I
Exactly.
say no, then the question just ends here.
Exactly. So how would we answer his question? So we'd say God is uncreated.
Yeah.
Right? Simple as that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, somebody wants to add. Just if you hand over the mic.
As a creation, as an example, myself, I've been created. So I have needs. I need to sleep. I need to eat.
Excellent.
But God doesn't need all of that. But if he has needs, who's going to take care of his needs?
Excellent. Excellent. Last question, and then we'll move on. Yeah. There's one brother has his hands up.
It's just a comment. So we can just say that if the creator is created, he's not creator anymore.
Excellent. The creator is not created. It's an infinite loop. Excellent. Okay. So here we go. So what we're explaining, every one of us is our needy, like the brother said, right? Allah is al-ghani, independent. He's not needy of anything. He's self-sufficient. The thing is, what we want to show them now, because, and again, like I said yesterday, it's not we want to be disrespectful and we don't want to hear them out. We want to hear what they have to say. But what we want to do is we want to give them dawah. So we want to explain who God is. The whole idea of the Quran coming down to humanity is to introduce to us who Allah is, who our maker is, who our Rabb is, right? That's the whole idea of one of the right reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent wahi, because human beings keep understanding God and making, partners with God, asking other things for help, right? So here's the simplest kind of a chart we put together for you to kind of think about. Creation is needy. Everything in creation is needy. Allah is Al-Ghani, self-sufficient. Allah who's Samad. Samad, he's self-sufficient. He's not in need of anything. Everything is temporary. All things will die. Allah is eternal. Allah has no beginning. Allah has no end. Right? Everything in creation is confined by time and space. Allah is free of time and space. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is uniquely one. Okay? He's one unique agent, which is not like his creation. Laysa kamithlihi shay. There's nothing like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever your conceptual mind can come up with what God is, that is not God. Like one of the brothers I was listening to, I think he's from Montreal, and he was explaining something really powerful. He goes, any human thought experiment, anything you can come up with, it's always going to be a human thought. Like for example, if you ever look at what aliens look like, can you create an alien which something you've never seen? Can we create an image of an alien for something we've never seen? No, we cannot. Why? So whenever we see aliens, what do we see? A head, eyes, a nose, a legs, maybe 16 legs, maybe 30. Like everything human beings create is based on something they see. When we make planes, what did human beings get the idea for planes? Observing birds. So whatever we create is based on what we've seen. In Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unseen. Okay? That's why Allah, one of the tests of mankind is to believe in the unseen. When you look at Surah Baqarah, right? It's guidance for those who believe in the unseen. Yes, brother. So I think we don't create, we reproduce. We get things like, for example, for me to make this clicker, I need to have oil, which turns into plastic, which turns into this clicker. So I have to have things that are around me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates things ex nihilo, out of nothing. Right? That's the difference. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, kun fayakun, right? And when He creates, He's creating from where? His kudra and His irada. What is kudra and irada? With His power and His will, right? Can I create an iPad if I don't have the will to even do anything, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful, all knowing. Allah is, has the will, He has all the power. So when Allah creates, He creates from absolutely nothing. And even in His creation, by the way, and I was listening to one sheikh, he was explaining there's difference of how, like even Ibn al-Qayyim and many of them said, even in His creation, there are two different types of creation. Someone can help me, I'm not a scholar. Like I said, I'm just a simple duat. But he was explaining these terminologies that when Allah creates, some things He says, kun fayakun, says, and it is. And some things have a time based. Some things are instant. When, like I said, the baby comes, when the baby's in the mother of the stomach, when the angels come down and blow into the ruh, it's instant that way, right? But the stages of the baby is in time. In the same way, in the creation has time. That's why even science says we're here 12.5 billion years or whatever. So there's a time element. But some things are created instant, right? Anyway, I'm not going to get into that topic, but just to kind of give you, yeah. Okay, so that's really basically very simple how to explain there's a creator, He's one, right? Again, all these discussions we brought up that, we talk about the Occam's razor and all this kind of different discussion, we just want to keep it very simple. What did we say? Based on our discussion, so now we're going to do a role play on what we've learned. So in this role play, we're not going to go back to what we've done yesterday. We already done the role plays of how to explain there's a creator. We've already got the agreement. So the first is, so what we're going to do at the end of the day, we're going to put it all together. So the premise is we're going to start a conversation, whether it's active or passive, right? When it's active, you're the one who's giving flyers, or maybe giving a Quran, or yes, and do you believe in God? You're initiating, right? Passive is when someone's coming to you, and then we talked about characters. If someone comes to you and he says, why do you have a beard? Why do you have a hijab? And you say, thank you very much for asking that question. In order for you to understand this question, do you have a few minutes? I can explain some foundations of Islam. And you make that into, we believe in God, we believe He's one. You moved in this direction. So, based on what we've just learned yesterday, now we're saying, we've come to a point that this person already believes there is some being or some cause, whatever his conceptual mind of is. Maybe he believes it's an energy, maybe he believes in force, maybe that's his view. But instead of arguing this part, we're saying, okay, you accept that there's something. Now let us explain what that something is. So what are we saying? Based on our discussion, the discussion you're having in the dawah, it's rational to conclude that the creator and the creation, the universe, are not the same. If they were, the creator would also need a creator, a designer, a sustainer, and that would go on to an infinite loop, right? So the universe needs a creator, okay? The universe did not come from nothing. It didn't create itself. So we believe Allah is, we can explain Surah Al-Ikhlas, nothing like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, laysa kamithlihi shay. We'll bring in these principles. Does that make sense? It's that simple. I know that was a mouthful. To go back to make it very simple, okay? Based on our discussion, let's say the person believes in some kind of energy. We say that the creator and the creation are not the same. If I make the table, I don't become the table, right? You give them kind of worldly example. If I make the clicker, I don't become the clicker, so on and so forth. And then we say, then are in the same, the creator would also need a creator, and that would go on to an infinite cause. So we have to have one unique agent that is uncaused, okay? So The universe did not come from nothing. The universe didn't create itself. Okay? So let us explain who God is. In Islam, by the way, brothers, in the oneness, you're taking control of the conversation. In the oneness, you don't want to understand his understanding. It's not we want to be disrespectful. The reason why humanity didn't understand what God is, that's why the message of Allah came to explain. So you are the one is leading that conversation. You're not want to entertain what his understanding of oneness of God is. Okay? Not with being respectful, obviously, not being disrespectful. Okay. So the creator is unique. There's nothing like the creator, hence the creator has to be one. Does this make sense? Yes or no? If he says no, then you give him more examples. Okay? Make sense, everybody? So at this time, I'll request everyone please rise, pair up in twos, and like I said, don't talk about philosophy, don't talk about science, don't talk about evolution, don't talk about the Quran, don't talk about why the Prophet is a prophet right now. We're just discussing the oneness of Allah. Okay? So you can have this for reference, so you guys have some kind of roadmap, inshallah. Let's do it. And I'll be coming around just listening into your conversations, inshallah. Check 1, 2. Okay, brothers. All right. Excellent. Later on when we do the Q&A at the end of the day. Not yeah, and later on at the end of the night. Yeah. Just let them know it's MCQ. Okay. All right, good. Alhamdulillah. So, who would like to come show us in action how that would look like in real dawah? The brother said, I want to show you. Where's the brother from the MSA? Brother, come on up. And we have another brother. We want to see what you learned. Can I get you on the corner, brother? Come on up. Where's the microphone? Can we have a microphone? Where'd it go? Oh, the mic's there. Yeah, come on up, brother. Yeah, we know. Yes. Come on up, brother. So now, come in the middle here, please. Here in the middle. Both of you, so this is a real live conversation, okay? You're in school, and there's a discussion happening about oneness of God. So oneness to show people how would we now, based on what we learned, how would we explain it, okay? So, let's say John so-and-so comes and he asks the question, how would we explain oneness? Let's do it.
Okay. Should I bring the lead for him?
However you would give dawah now, you're in let's say you're in the booth, so you're handing out these flyers and someone comes and he believes in some kind of force, some kind of energy, something in the beginning, but he doesn't know what this being is. Now you're explaining, okay?
Okay.
You're explaining oneness.
Okay, so John, hope you're doing well. So do you believe there is some form of entity or creator that created us?
He says yes. He says there is.
Yes? Okay. Do you believe it's only one? Or that's not a necessity?
He doesn't know, he says.
John, this is your mic.
Yeah, I don't really know.
He's white enough to be a John. Anyway. Okay. Okay. So say there are more than one God. Okay, because that's what most non-monotheist religions say. There's more than one God, and each God has a different will. Then which God's will that is gonna prevail?
Maybe
God A wants this bottle to go up. God B wants it to go down. Which God's will prevail?
Well, maybe they love each other. They're a family, so a son and a father, so they love each other. There's no need to it. Peace, man. Love.
But the fact is,
always prevails.
We believe that God would have a supreme, ultimate power. Like
Why that harsh perspective of God's, man? The one that he tries
no
to...
contentions. This we want to show people how actually that will happen. Someone who's genuinely serious, he wants to learn.
Yeah. Why are you trying to depict God in this hateful perspective? The one that is trying to
brother.
Oh, yeah, exactly. He should be not entertaining my ideas. So I'm trying to.
You can go on with this idea.
Should I be okay?
Be a stupid John.
Okay, I want to know. Stupid John. Okay.
Yeah, like a stupid. I was stupid John.
Jazakumullah khairan. Okay. Interesting. Continue.
Okay. So maybe God A wants to give that much money to this person, and God B wants to give him more money, or maybe he wants to give that money to that person. So they would always want different things because they have independent wills as different gods, if there are multiple gods. And that just contradicts. There cannot be multiple gods in this situation. Do you understand this?
Oh, yeah.
Because if he does not want it, if he doesn't want, if this will either go up or will go down. If it goes up, then the God that wanted it down, his will did not prevail, his will did not happen, then he's limited. He's not a God anymore.
Oh, yeah. What if both want the same thing?
Then that will happen. The same thing will happen. But over eternity, they will have different wills. They will want different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So
it makes sense
wait. Why does that make sense? I'm asking because that doesn't make sense. I'm just asking why. I'll tell you why. Because in Islam, I'm explaining. In Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to explain. Allah is Al-Qahhar. What does that mean?
القهار يعني الذي يقهر من سواه. How do I translate that to English?
Yeah. So it means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like here's it's called the multiple gods contention, right? Let's say there's multiple gods and they work together and they build the universe. Why can't that happen?
Okay. ولو كان في لا.
That's what he's saying. He's saying if there's multiple people, they can work together and build this bottle. Why can't that happen?
Yeah, because God will be القهار is. Can you translate the word
Yes.
القهار? I can't.
So what we're
translate.
saying,
Just
okay,
translate
here's
that
where the
word.
argument comes from. The argument comes from, I believe there's multiple gods. They just work together and they built a car.
Yeah.
Or multiple people came together. The challenge from Islamic worldview is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need anyone. Allah is al-Qahar. He's the subduer. He doesn't take permission. He doesn't ask. He doesn't need people to work with him.
Okay.
He's the subduer. Yeah, that's the word you
I
need.
needed in English. I
Inshallah.
can say in Arabic.
Yes.
But,
Subduer. Yes. Excellent. Okay, good.
Okay, so since God is a subduer, He does not need anyone doing anything with Him. He would also would not want anyone to be beside His level, because as a God, He's the most proud, He's the most strong, He's the most respected. He doesn't want anyone any likes. This is what in Islam we describe as.
Why are you moving?
Let me.
Okay, good. Jazakallah khair, bro. May Allah bless you. Okay, do you want to try the other way around, just to so now the other person can explain?
I don't look like a John, actually.
You don't know. You're not John at all. It's if hypothetically if someone is asking.
I'm Steve.
Nor are you
Go
Steve,
ahead.
nor are you John. You're a Muslim, alhamdulillah.
So what? Assalamu alaikum. Hello, sir. Peace be upon you. What's your name?
Steve.
Steve. All right. Nice to meet you, sir.
It's irrespective of what his name is.
Yeah.
We just want to get to the meat of the discussion.
All right. So can I have a couple of minutes to discuss?
Of course, yeah.
So,
What do you want to talk
do you
about?
believe in God?
Yes, he believes in God.
Yeah, I believe there is something that Kenny does.
So our understanding as Muslims of God, it starts from that simple question: does this universe that is around us, does all those planets, you as one of the most complex one of the complex beings on this earth, this gigantic universe came from nothing? Does it make sense?
No, I
that
believe there is something that brought it.
you believe that there is something, and so as Muslims, we actually believe that it is, and even rationally, you can deduce that something that creates this entire universe must be unique, right? You cannot be a creator, neither am I can be a creator. We do not have the self-sufficiency to be able to bring matter from nothingness. We do not have the power to move planets and create things out of nothingness.
Yeah, I believe there is a creator of the universe. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
and so
But
we were just
how many creators could it be? Like, why is it not Rama, or why is it not,
As am I explaining, if we were to discuss an all-powerful being that creates this gigantic universe, we cannot say that having something as powerful negates the word all-powerful. If there are more than one gods, all-powerful does not make sense. For something to be an all-powerful, an imposer, a creator for this universe, it must be one. And if you have any other argument, try to argue for it. Yeah.
Like, do we agree on this? Do we agree
Yeah.
on this?
Yeah. Do you agree on this?
Yeah, but you're saying he's. I wanted to ask him a question. Just a question. I just want to do a 2-minute. Because if the God's all powerful, can't he have a son? Because I'm powerful, I can have a son.
that when we talk about that.
That's
We
the
will
problem.
be talking about.
He's not all loving. Like, what does he have a wife?
Okay.
Misogynist.
Check. Jazakallah khair, guys. Excellent job. May Allah bless you. Okay. So, just to kind of the idea, and I was telling some of the brothers in the back, because every brother and a sister is in a different level. Some people are more articulate, some people are more hesitant, some people have different discussions. One of the humble advices that I would give you, I'm going to reiterate this. Keep your dawah simple. Wallahi, I don't know how many times I have to say this. I know the challenge is if you, And this is a problem with all of us, including me. We learn these complex ideas about how to Islam, can be very powerful. But what we do is, whatever we learn, we just want to throw it at people. And that's why one of the brothers that does dawah with us in Mississauga, Toronto, he gave me very good nasiha. He said, when you teach people complex ideas about how to explain Islam, you know what they do? They leave the simple stuff and they only turn to complex ideas. So what I'm trying to share with you guys, keep it simple unless it's needed to be complex. Start with simple. Keep your dawah simple. Because we watch so many videos and so many books we've read and so much understanding we have, we're like, okay, let's just throw everything at this guy, even the kitchen sink and the toilet and the laundry. Just throw everything at him. So he'll just bombard it with like, okay, yeah, accept. Okay, so just keep it simple. All right, so we're going to stop here because we've been going at it for about an hour and 15 minutes. We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll be back. Let's make it 7 because it's 11:18. So we have a round number. We'll do a 7-minute break. We'll come back at 11:25, inshallah. And then if you have any questions, I can come over to you or you guys can come over to me, whichever way we like. And we can discuss, unless you want to but I want you to just kind of, because we have a long day ahead of us. I want you to get some exercise, just moving around and stuff. Jazakallah khair. Oh, yeah, so you guys, again, like yesterday, the sisters can go down first, get their snacks, get their coffee, tea, fruit, and then afterwards we'll send the brothers, inshallah.